My daughter's first words exposed what my wife was hiding from me. The moment happened at 3:47 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon in our sunlit kitchen. I was loading the dishwasher while my wife Nadia bounced our 15-month-old daughter Maya on her hip, cooing nonsense words and making exaggerated faces. Maya had been babbling for months, the usual mama and dada sounds, but nothing that counted as real speech yet. Our pediatrician said not to worry, that girls often talk later than the averages suggested. Then Maya looked directly at me, pointed her tiny finger, and said with perfect clarity, "That's not Daddy, that's David." The kitchen went silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator. I stood frozen with a plate in my hand. Nadia's face drained of all color. She set Maya down so quickly the toddler stumbled, catching herself against the cabinet. "What did you say, sweetheart?" I asked, my voice coming out strange and distant. Maya looked confused by the sudden tension. "David?" she repeated, still pointing at me. Then she looked at Nadia and said, "Mama's scared." I turned to my wife slowly. Nadia was backing toward the doorway, her hands raised. "Let me explain," she said. "Please, just let me explain before you react." My mind was racing through possibilities, none of them making sense. How did Maya know the name David? Why was that what she called me? I'd been Dada or Dada since she was old enough to make sounds. David was my actual first name, but I'd gone by my middle name, Aaron, since childhood. My parents had given me my grandfather's name as a first name out of obligation, but neither they nor I ever used it. It appeared on legal documents and my driver's license, but nowhere else. I hadn't introduced myself as David since I was 5 years old. How does she know that name? I asked. My grip on the plate tightened until my knuckles went white. "Nadia, how does our 15-month-old daughter know my legal first name when I haven't used it in 30 years? Nadia's eyes filled with tears, but they looked more like panic than sadness. "I can explain everything, but not here. Not in front of Maya. Please, Aaron, can we talk in the bedroom?" I looked down at Maya, who was now sitting on the kitchen floor, pulling pots out of the cabinet, already distracted. She seemed completely unaware of the bomb she'd just detonated. "Fine," I said, "but you're going to tell me everything, and I mean everything, right now." We went upstairs to our bedroom, and Nadia closed the door behind us. She leaned against it like she was blocking my escape. Her hands were shaking. "I need you to understand something first," she began. "I love you. I have always loved you. Everything I did was to protect this family." The words sent ice through my veins. "What did you do, Nadia?" She took a deep breath. "Your name isn't Aaron Westbrook. It's David Aaron Westbrook. I know that. But there's more. You don't just go by Aaron because you prefer it. You go by Aaron because that's the name the Witness Protection Program gave you when you were 5 years old." The words didn't make sense. "What are you talking about?" Nadia moved away from the door and sat on the edge of our bed, her hands clasped between her knees. "Your real name is David Aaron Keller. Your parents were David Sr. and Margaret Keller. When you were 5 years old, your father witnessed a murder committed by a federal prosecutor named Leonard Vaughn. Your father was an accountant who'd been hired to examine irregularities in Vaughn's campaign finances. He found evidence of money laundering and bribery, and he saw Vaughn kill a journalist who was about to publish the story. Vaughn was connected to organized crime, to people who could make entire families disappear. So the FBI put your whole family into witness protection." I sat down hard on the bed beside her, my legs suddenly unable to support me. "That's insane. My parents are John and Carol Westbrook. They're retired teachers living in Arizona. I remember my childhood. I remember growing up in Philadelphia." Nadia shook her head. "Those are implanted memories, false narratives they created for you. You were 5 when you entered the program. That's young enough that your brain could be reshaped, that you could be made to believe a different history. They changed your last name, moved you across the country, gave you a complete new identity. Your parents played along because they had no choice, but your legal first name stayed David because that's what your birth certificate said, and changing a first name completely creates too many red flags. So they kept David as your legal first name and told you to go by Aaron as a compromise." I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at our quiet suburban street. This couldn't be real. "How do you know any of this? And why wouldn't my parents have told me?" Nadia's voice got quieter. "Because I'm not who you think I am either. My real name is Nadia Vaughn. Leonard Vaughn was my father." The room tilted. I gripped the windowsill to stay upright. "What?" She continued in a rush. "I found out about you 3 years before we met. My father died when I was 22, and I was going through his papers trying to settle his estate. I found files he'd kept, obsessive documentation about the Keller family, about David Keller, the man who'd ruined his life, except David Keller had disappeared, along with his wife and young son. The files showed my father had spent years trying to find you, paying private investigators, tracking down leads that went nowhere. He died never knowing what happened to the family that destroyed him." I turned to face her. "Destroyed him? Your father was a murderer. He killed someone to cover up his crimes." Full story is linked below or on my channel.